to the break room, the break room. Welcome to the break room, the break room. Welcome to the break room, the break room. Welcome to the break room, the break room. Sit back, relax, as we chit-chat about this and that. Now stay tuned, stay tuned. We got an hour to empower, a lifetime to uplift your spirits, plus inspire the talented and gifted. We here to motivate, let's get it. Come cop a squat, let's talk about your business, endeavors or whatever's on your mind. We got time today, pick any topic, cause it's going down on the break room, the break room. Welcome to 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 the break room, the break room. Break room, break room. Welcome to the break room, the break room. Welcome to the break room, the break room. Welcome to the break room, guys and gals. I'm your host, Mercury the Personality. And guess who I have for you guys tonight? Well, it's really not a guess because it's the final word from Moses. You know, the guy who co-wrote for The Godfather of Harlem. That's what I was going to say. But should have started with Money and Violence, because that's where we all know him from and we all love him from, okay? So he went from Money and Violence, shot all the way up to Godfather of Harlem, and we know not of where he'll go next. But you guys will have to stay tuned for sure. This is the final word from Moses, and also still being sponsored by Urban Music, guys. Thank you, Michael Wiles. Totally appreciate chilling in the YouTube space. Love it. All right. So we're here in the Chelsea market, about to get busy, guys. So go get your drinks, get your snacks, and we'll be right back with the break room.
I thought your moving was for change.
Never seen the water hit the fire. You never seen the corner, you just watched it on the wire.
To lead a game with nothing but your life and your freedom is a blessing.
Booming. Dealing liars. You never seen the water hit the fire. You never seen the.
So we already got that. Basically, he's raw talent and got mentored. Answer your question, answer mine. Anyway, so I must say, like, you stepped on the scene in, like, to me, a major way. You know, you have become a pillar of light for a lot of people within our community, our urban communities.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How was it to deal with the influx of people? Because, you know, once you made Money and Violence, all types of people came into your world.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like, and how did you handle, you know, the influx of people coming, asking for this, needing that, disgruntled about that, needing, wanting?
I mean, I'm someone who, I believe that my purpose is to be of service, right? So even with me getting into this, you have to understand that Money and Violence was something that I created to make my contribution, which is just pretty much, it was a way for me to have a platform to use my voice to speak to the younger generation.
Right.
You know, if you watch the show, every single episode, there were, you know, nuggets of wisdom, there were There was always a moral to every single story. So that was my way to communicate to the younger generation. So with that being said, it also allowed me, aside from that, to provide opportunities to a lot of people.
Right. And that you did.
Yes, and what I've come to learn is sometimes you're trying to provide opportunities, and sometimes when those opportunities bear fruit and people start gaining things from them, they no longer see it as you providing an opportunity. You know, it's like I always say, no matter how big I get, no matter how great a writer I become, I can never be bigger than the project, right? And the project is always what's the most important, because the project is what's going to get us wherever it is that we're trying to go.
Right.
But unfortunately, a lot of times you have people in those situations that once everything starts bearing fruit, they start feeling that they're bigger than the project.
Right.
Right. And I mean, I don't take things like that personally.
Right.
I just feel that we've come to a crossroads, and maybe it isn't for us to be in each other's lives anymore.
Right.
And that's okay, because, you know, God makes no mistakes.
Right.
That's the way I see things. So, although, you know, I can't deal with you anymore, wish you the best, and I just need to keep going in my direction.
Yeah, you definitely did it with grace, with class. You were a gentleman about it. I did interview a couple of people that were disgruntled. On my platform, I didn't allow that to come out, you know, only because that's not what the break room is about. It's about empowering, inspiring, and motivating people. So, irregardless to whom or what, we like to find the answer and the solution. So, how we handle things like obstacles, like, you know, things not going right for ourselves, that's what we would like the answer to. We don't want to know why you cried, you know. We want to know how you drew, you know, dried your tears. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause we all gonna cry.
Of course.
You know, we all gonna not like something. We need to know how to handle and deal, you know, because I'm not the best dealer of things. You know, I love to find
None of us are.
right, and I just like to find new ways of coping, and I like to share it. So I like, and I have to commend you in person, because I did it already online. But in person, I have to commend you. You did very well in regards to some of the disgruntled people, and some people that wanted things to happen and it couldn't happen, but they were like mad about it, and you just kept very even keeled, and I like that about you. That was great. But I need you to walk me through like the process of how things got from, you know, how can we say? We're gonna say like from the basement, right, to Lionsgate, to Stars, to Tidal, like, you know, to all of that. Like, how did Jay-Z approach you? How did that all happen?
Everything sort of took a life of its own, you know.
Grew legs, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer in the fact that success is too big a blessing for any human being to take credit for, you know. So the most that I can say is, did I put in the effort and God did the rest, right? So, you know, I came up with the idea for the show. I got my friends together. We started shooting. One of the most important things that we did was we stayed consistent.
Yes.
We gave our audience an episode every week, you know, for almost, 7 months straight.
How are you able to do that? Like, because I know sometimes you film, did you go straight home and...
Determination. I mean, literally, when we put out the first episode of Money and Violence, the second episode wasn't even thought of yet. And every week I would have 6 days to write an episode, shoot it, and edit it, and have it out by the following Tuesday.
Oh.
Yeah, and I did that for 7 months. But, you know, I'm just the type of person that once I say I'm going to do something, the only thing, it's either, like I always say, it's either I win, or it's either I make it happen or I die, because there is no stopping me.
I agree.
It's one or the other. If I say that I'm going to do it, then I'm going to do it.
You heard that, guys, right?
And when I say that, not to say that it's going to be successful
or perfect,
all I'm saying is that if anything that's up to me, you know,
it is going to get done.
It's going to get done. If it requires me not to sleep for 3 days, sleep is not going to stop me. You know, anything that's within my power, I'm going to be able to do.
Right.
So the answer to this whole thing is basically it grew legs,
Yeah, I mean, it's consistency. It's consistency. Consistency is the key.
But how did Jay get to you? Like, did Jay call you? Did somebody connect Jay? And
actually, my manager, one of my managers, Teddy Altifor, had a long-standing relationship with Rock Nation.
Okay.
And I mean, you know, Beehive, Shaka, Pilgrim, Tata,
right.
Emery. I mean, you know, those are good friends of his. And I remember the first time they took us to Rock Nation, Tata was telling me, he was like, you know, the funny thing is Jay actually put me onto the show.
Okay.
You know, he was like, Jay was like, yo, you gotta watch this. Like, it reminds me of us when we were coming up. You know,
because it's very relatable.
Yeah, and also
you make stuff that's very relatable.
I try to make things that are very true to life, right? So, although, you know, a lot of the stuff is about the streets, I still try to give you realistic characters because nobody wants to do crime. And I think that that's a misconception that we always see on television. Nobody wakes up in the morning and they're like, oh yeah, I want to sell drugs, I want to do this. You know, I remember Paid in Full when Mekhi Phifer's character was sitting there, he's like, I love the hustle, makes me feel like one of these ball players. That's BS.
Right.
Nobody wants to sell drugs.
Right.
People do it because we're from disenfranchised neighborhoods, lack of resources, lack of opportunities, and this is one of the only ways.
And it's in your face. It's right here.
It is in your face. It's normalized because being that you grew up in the hood and it was what was around you, it feels normal to do, but also there is nothing that's accessible to you that is going to allow you that level of success. Right there where you're from. You know, there are no doctors where you're from. There are no lawyers where you're from.
That's in your face.
So,
because they are, but they're not in your face.
No, they're not accessible. They don't appear to be accessible. You look on the television, you see a black doctor, but when you look out your window, that's not what you see. That is not accessible to you. It's like, yes, black doctors exist in this world, but not in my neighborhood. You understand? So when you don't see something at your access, you feel that it's out of your reach.
Right.
But what you see out the window, who has everything that you think equates to success? Who has the cars? Who has the jewelry? It's these guys on the corner that are making all this money. So therefore you feel, well, you know what, to get my slice of success, this is the road that I have to go.
Right.
You know, until you get older and then you mature and then you come to realize, like, wow, you sort of have to deprogram yourself from everything that you learned growing up, because you realize that you can't thrive in the real world abiding by the rules that you learned where you're from.
Very true.
When we come back, guys, I want to tell you a couple of things when we come back. Just a few. Just a little jewel.
This is no longer a home. This is now a place of business.
Drug dealing liars. You never seen the water hit the fire. You never seen the corner, you just watched it on the wire. Booming.
Welcome back to the break room, guys and gals. Who am I? And who I'm with? Mercury, Moses. I love it. We have a little fun, don't we? Great, guys. So I was gushing over Mo. He's Mo now, right? How did I switch that up? But anyway, no. Seriously, I was gushing over the fact that he knows how to handle business. He knows how to handle obstacles, disgruntled people, all kinds of stuff. This is dope. So we're going to get all that information. He's going to give some advice a little later, but we're slow dragging it, but we're picking up speed. All right, guys? So I was letting him know that he handled things in such a great, diplomatic, gentlemanly sort of way for some of these disgruntled people from Money and Violence, because we're all still waiting for Money and Violence, but you can't wait. You gotta move on, you know? So we moved on to The Spot, okay? And we also moved on to The Godfather of Harlem, but we're gonna talk about all of that. So my question, though, is for The Spot, right? So after Money and Violence, the Lionsgate thing, like, what happened that it, I don't want to say fizzled, I don't know what the correct word would be, but tell me.
I think to the audience it may appear as things died down only because they're not really familiar with how television works.
Right.
We had got a deal with Lionsgate, and the deal with Lionsgate was supposed to be for them to take us to television.
Okay.
So through Lionsgate, we secured what's called a developmental deal
Okay.
with the Stars Network, the same network Power was on.
Right.
And we were in development for 2 years. Now what a developmental deal means is just pretty much we're going to spend some time to develop some scripts so that we can see if by our standard they're good enough for us to shoot a show.
Right.
So for 2 years we were in development with Stars, created a pilot script, we were working on the second script.
Okay.
And December of last year, we had been in development for 2 years. You know, I'm like, this is taking too long. So I call my manager. I'm like, I need to have, you know, a meeting with these Stars execs. I go out to LA. We have a meeting, and you know, I pretty much tell them like, look, I need to know what's going on. You know, what I was concerned about wasn't even that wasn't just that we were in development for 2 years, but it was that I couldn't gauge where I was in the process. If I was 25% of the way through, if I was 50% of the way through, and then on top of it, I have this existing audience that's highly anticipating this next season. So
I was part of that audience, guys.
I'm like, 2019 is coming. I can't do another year like this.
Right.
So I need to know, like, what's going on. Are we getting greenlit for the next year? Are we going to go into production? And then like, well, you know, we have these prior commitments to Courtney Kemp, who's the writer of Power, and also to Curtis Jackson,
Okay.
you know, with the prequel and the sequel of Power, and all these other shows. So we honestly can't tell you when. It could be another 2 years, it could be another 5 years.
Right.
So when they told me that, I told my lawyer, you know, get me out this deal, get
Right.
me out the situation. Now that was
Right, because that's like holding up your creative juices.
I mean, and it's not even so much as that, because, for instance, Godfather of Harlem, it took the creator 18 years to get that show on television. So it's not that that's uncommon. You know, to be in development for 2 years, for it to take 3 years, 5 years, 7, it's not uncommon for a television show.
Right.
It's just that people don't realize that because they hear about a show maybe 2 or 3 months before it comes out, and then they see it. But they don't know that creator and that writer, what their journey was to get that show actually on the air.
Right.
So after that happened in December of last year, I decided, you know what, I need to put out some new content. But that's how I came up with the spot, because I was going to produce this next show out of my pocket.
Okay.
You know, so I'm like, okay, how can I cut costs? So I'm like, okay, not only how can I cut costs, but I also like to do things that's never been done before, right? Or do things in a way that they've never been done before. So I'm like, you know what? To challenge myself as a writer, I wonder if I can write an entire series in one location, right? And then I'm like, that would also cut costs, because I can shoot the entire show in my apartment. So
Nice apartment, by the way.
Thank you.
You guys gotta watch The Spot. It's dope.
So I create this drama series, which pretty much takes place the entire season in one place, which is that apartment, and I create The Spot, you know. And The Spot was pretty much, it's, you know, you've seen it, it's a transition story. Mark moved out the hood physically, but mentally he's sort of still there, and he's surrounded by all these people from his past that are kind of holding him back from really getting to where it is that he wants to get. And I just felt that The Spot was very reflective of what a lot of us go through, because I think it's part of the dysfunction of coming from the neighborhoods we come from, where we feel guilty for outgrowing people because of the length of time we've known them.
Very true.
Whereas the truth is, either someone's helping the cause or hurting the cause. And if they're not contributing to your life, we're not teenagers anymore, we're adults, and we can't afford to make emotional decisions.
Right.
You know, we have to make logical ones, because emotional ones are very costly.
Right.
And that's
Some of
how-
us are trying to leave legacy. I don't want to cut you off, but I do have to tell you guys something. I did want to let you guys know a little something, because there's a misconception about neighborhoods and things of that nature. I grew up in Park Slope, so I saw a lot of things, all right? And I want to share that with you. Just because, you know, something that you see in your face, and I feel like a lot of times we follow what we see in our face a lot. But I want you guys to know, within these neighborhoods, there's doctors, there's lawyers, there's all types of people that are doing very well in the corporate world. They're just not, how can I say, they're not mixy. They're not they're not all in your face like that. They're actually working and going home. So some of these things you're not gonna see, but that does not mean that it's not there in your own neighborhood, okay? So let's just put that out there. And also, I want you guys to know the reason why I admire Mo so much is because he actually puts these lessons within these shows that kind of, you know, give you a taste of the streets, the street life, you know, drug selling, all types of, you know, things that are going on that are untoward. It's not just about that. It's not to glorify that. It's actually to show you the whole, you know, the whole 360 underneath, inside view of these types of lifestyles. All right. So I just wanted to put you guys onto that.
That is correct.
Yes, I'm sorry, but I had to say that. I'm not sorry, but yes.
Yeah, I mean that's another reason why, you know, I delved into the whole writing thing. It's just because, I mean, before I started doing it, I just always felt that I had never saw the real us on screen. Every time we were depicted, it was just this television version of our neighborhood, this television version of us. And I just wanted to give a more realistic point of view of those lifestyles and those people, because, you know, once again, every villain is someone's hero, and I think both of those sides need to be shown.
Right, I agree, and I think you do a great job in not only depicting some of what we go through in the neighborhoods, but also the thought process, you know, behind it. Because a lot of times, you know, people see things, the movements that people make, they see them as very surface, but behind the scenes, it's a deeper, you know, intricate reason why these people are making the moves that they're making. Like you said before, we're not just coming out and waking up saying, oh, I'm selling drugs, or I'm gonna be a scammer today. You know, it really is because, you know, I gotta tell you guys, you go out for job interviews, there's 15 million people going out for that same job, you know, so like you do it for like 2 weeks, you get despondent after a while. So I'm not telling you to go do, you know, sell drugs, but that's kind of, you know.
That's what I was just gonna say, and in no way, you know, do I want anyone to think that I'm trying to give a justification for any of these acts, because it's definitely not a justification. It's more so, not that people can say I agree, but it's just so they can say, you know what, I get it, I understand, I don't agree with it, but I get how you can get, I get how it is that some of these kids can get to this point.
Right, because a lot of times, before we take a break and we get into Godfather Harlem, a lot of times people, you know, I'm not going to